What if the most valuable thing in the world wasn't knowledge, but curiosity? According to Arvind Srinivas, the CEO of Perplexity AI, we are right on the edge of a massive shift. He thinks the entire foundation of how we learn, how we search, and even how we create value is about to be completely rewritten.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a huge idea. For centuries, our entire system, everything from the classroom to the boardroom, has been built to reward memorization, knowing the right answer. But what happens when an AI can answer literally anything in an instant? Well, the game changes. Completely.
And this, right here, is the heart of the revolution Srinivas is talking about. When answers become cheap, a commodity, the real human advantage, the one skill that you just can't automate, is that little spark of inquiry. It's the ability to come up with a great question that unlocks a much deeper level of understanding.
So, to really get why this shift is so important, Srinivas points to two gigantic systems that he believes are, frankly, broken. They're just not built for the modern world. And those two systems are education and the search engine model that's dominated the internet for, 2 decades now? Just think about it for a second. The classroom model on the left, it hasn't really changed in 100 years. It's just a one-way street of information that's all about rewarding memorization. Srinivas argues that this basically trains us for a world that doesn't exist anymore. The future, over on the right, is a dialogue. It's a conversation. The AI becomes your personal tutor, and students get rewarded for the quality of their questions, not just for spitting back answers. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting, because this slide shows a huge conflict of interest. Google's entire business model is built on ads. So for commercial questions, like finding the best hotel or buying a new jacket, their main incentive isn't to give you the most accurate answer. It's to sell your question to whoever pays the most. Perplexity just flips that whole model on its head. Because they rely on subscriptions, their only incentive is to give you the best, most truthful answer possible. Why? Because that's what keeps you coming back as a customer.
Okay, so if the old systems are broken, what's the new philosophy? Well, it's not about boring lectures or endless lists of blue links. It's about tapping into the most natural way we all learn, just following a thread of curiosity, kind of like we all did when we were kids. Srinivas brings up this brilliant analogy from the physicist Richard Feynman. You can know the name of a bird in 10 different languages, right? But that doesn't mean you know a single thing about the bird, how it flies, what it eats, where it came from. Real, true understanding comes from asking questions, from going deeper and deeper, layer by layer. And this shows perfectly how Perplexity is actually designed. It's not a dead end. You ask a question, you get a straight, sourced answer. And then, and this is the crucial part, the AI suggests the next questions you should probably ask. It actively guides your curiosity, turning one simple query into a whole journey of discovery. An answer is really just the beginning of the next question. This brings us to a really important shift in what we even consider intelligence. The old world, it rewarded what's called crystallized intelligence. That's like the library of facts you've got stored in your head. But the new world, it demands fluid intelligence. That's your ability to learn on the fly, to solve problems you've never seen before. It's not about what you already know. It's about how fast you can learn something new.
Okay, so the philosophy is great, but let's be real. How does a little startup realistically take on a $3 trillion behemoth like Google? Well, the answer is in a classic business strategy, exploiting what's called an asymmetric advantage.
Srinivas points to this famous quote from Jeff Bezos, and the idea is actually pretty simple. If your competitor has this incredibly profitable business, their giant profit margin is actually their biggest weakness.
Let's just look at the numbers for a second. Google's search ad business has profit margins somewhere around 90%. 90. It's one of the most profitable businesses in human history. For Perplexity, building a business with 20 or 30% margins, that's a huge win. But for Google, for them to adopt a model that would drop their margins from 90% down to 30, that would be an absolute catastrophe. And that right there is the trap. It's a classic case of the innovator's dilemma. Google is basically a victim of its own success. They know this direct answer model is the future, but they can't fully go for it without destroying their own cash cow. And that gives Perplexity the breathing room it needs to grow and build the future, maybe even faster than the giant can adapt. But this whole revolution doesn't just stop with getting better answers. Srinivas is convinced that these conversational chatbots we're all using, they're just a stepping stone. The real future is all about action. So we started by just typing keywords into a search box. Now we're having full-on conversations with AI. The next massive leap forward is an AI that doesn't just talk, it does. We're We're talking about AI agents that can actually execute tasks for you, all across the internet.
So, what does this actually look like in real life? Well, imagine telling your personal AI agent, hey, find the top 3 books on fluid intelligence. Order them for me on Amazon, and then schedule time in my calendar next week so I can start reading. And the agent just does it. It's like having a whole team of personal assistants, a power that used to be only for billionaires, but soon it'll be available to everyone.
So, as AI gets more and more capable of doing pretty much everything, it brings us back to the most important question of all. What's left for us to do? What is the one core skill that will stay uniquely human in an age of superintelligent agents?
And the answer, really, is simple. An AI can execute a command. It can find an answer. It can perform an incredibly complex task. But it can't generate that initial spark of wonder. It can't ask why, just because it genuinely wants to know. That original, authentic curiosity, that's our territory.
Ultimately, this whole technological shift isn't about replacing human intelligence. It's about elevating it. It frees us from the boring work of memorization so we can focus on what we do best: explore, imagine, and create. So the only thing left to think about is, what are you curious about? What question will you ask next?